So welcome to Digital Live session number 3, which will be discovering and exploring media servers, particularly Isadora as a primary model as a media server. And we might touch on other things like OBS today. This is supposed to be a basic 101, but if anybody's here that knows more and needs some more information along the way, no problem, just ask and I'd be happy to answer that. Oh, and there's one more person. Megan is joining us. Okay. So I'm going to ask you all if you had gotten my email and downloaded everything that was in that email. Yes. Anybody hasn't done that yet? Marsha, you saying no?
Was there something besides Isadora?
There were some content files.
Okay, sorry. I'm
I'm
gonna look at it right now.
All right. I can put it in the chat so we have it immediately. So here are some content files. Basically all you need is the patch. If you have some content files of your own, like some video clips on your computer, that also works. So you can only, if you want to make it really streamlined, just download the patch file and then we can load anything on your computer into that patch file.
The 2 patch files?
No, just one. Should be just only one.
There's 2.
There's 2. Oh, probably because okay. What's in there?
It's
because I'm using it right now and it's doing autosave. So you do the one that was normal, not with the extra letters and stuff. Either one will work actually. Okay. Anybody else haven't done that? Cool. All right. So that's step number 1, if we have a patch file. And who has a free version of Isadora loaded on their computer right now? All right, that's fine. Just, you can't save, but that's fine. No worries about that. What was the other thing? Have you opened it yet? Have you actually pressed launch yet? Yes. Who has not pressed launch yet on their computer? 1, 2. Okay, that's fine too. So it's not that hard. So we can go ahead and do that. Let me just give an overview of, you're here. I'm hoping to just explain a little bit more about like why you would use Isadora primarily, because it is a versatile tool that you can use for many different purposes. But if you are, say, a performing artist and you want to run projection for your show, Isadora would be a great tool to have in your toolbox, just to do something very simple, such as like playing a video, queuing up a video and playing it. You can also queue up audio files as well. I've done that before, where you have like a sequence of, see in your first scene of your show, there's only music and there's no video. You can put scene 1 video, music file, and then scene 2 has a video, so you put a video file, and scene 3 has a video file and a music file. You can put both of them in there. And so sequentially, instead of jumping back and forth between Isadora doing the stuff and another program like QLab or something like that, instead of having 2 things happening, if you only have 1 operator, sometimes kind of gives a nice clean workflow for that operator to do. When it becomes more complex, yeah, we had 2 operators and you have like video stuff and audio stuff, then you can separate them. But if you only have 1 person doing that job, it can streamline it. And Isadora is perfectly capable of handling cues for audio files. That said, you can also use it for streaming if OBS is too, and I'll get to that in a minute, if OBS is a little bit too rudimentary for your needs, that you need more like layering capabilities and things like that. You can also use it for streaming. And I'll see if I can go down that road of like how you hook those things up so that from like OBS to Isadora. So you have this kind of connection between the two tools. So any questions? I mean, there are more reasons why you would use it, but any other questions like coming from that jumping off place from any of you? No. So let's get to it. I want everybody to go. Oh, here's the other thing. Instead of me sharing my screen, which doesn't quite work the way I want it to work, I want you to pin me my screen as the speaker view, so it's large, because I want to do picture in picture, and Zoom just doesn't, I haven't figured out how to do this yet. So I'm routing it through OBS and putting my own layout there. So I'm just using my virtual camera. So my picture here will change to what you'll see on my monitor, basically, with a little box with a clip. So I'm going to shift to that view myself. I want you to go ahead and open up the file that I gave you. So either double click on it or go to File, Open in Isadora. Okay. So let's make it so I can, if I wonder if this, yeah, that doesn't work. I can do that. Ooh, I can do that. So here is your Isadora file as you should see it, except the black square you probably do not see because we haven't got to that far yet. So you should see this gray user environment with left-hand side with a whole bunch of words and a right-hand side with a whole bunch of words on the other side. Yes, and let me know if you don't see that on your computer. I can see all of you at the same time as this, so even though you can't see me. I want you to go, the first thing we're going to do is make that little black square thing visible. And to do that, you're going to go to Output and you're going to go to Stage Setup. And I don't know, you can't see this. Oh, it stinks. You cannot see this. Hold on.
Hey, Callie.
Yeah.
When I click on the link, I am stuck on a menu. I'm not in a program yet. Which one should I choose?
When you click on the link that I put into the chat.
In the chat, yeah.
That is a, let me just get out of here for a second so we can see you. You click on the drive and did you download the file that says Isadora 101?
Oh. No, I didn't. Isadora 101 patch?
Yes.
Or
the one that was more simple, not the one with a lot of numbers at the end of it. That's an autosave file. It's okay.
I missed that. Thank you.
To open the patch, I also had to download the Video Blocks Woman Eye macro, somehow connected.
Yeah, what will happen basically is Isadora, when you download the patch and try to open it and the files are missing, it's going to say, hey, where is this file? Right? You can always ignore that and just insert your own file to that. We'll get to that part later. So you could basically just have the outline ready to go and that would be fine as well.
I just downloaded everything.
Yeah, downloading everything is preferable, but if you don't have time or bandwidth to do that, that's fine. The most important file is the patch file. Okay. So when you go to Output and you go to the Stage Setup window, a dialog box like this, I'm hoping you can see that says, well, mine says number 2. Yours might say number 1 because I have a monitor hooked up to my computer, which makes it 2 displays, and that's why it's number 2 and not number 1. I will go into this in more details later, but I want you to go down to the bottom where it says Stage 1 Settings. Under Preview, it says Use Default, and next to that, there should be a little checkbox that says Force On. Sometimes Mac and PC environments, the checkboxes are in slightly different places, but it should be more or less in that area. And I want you to click on force on. Yes. And let me know if you're having trouble with that. And what that will do, especially if you're only using your desktop, your laptop, and you don't have an external monitor, it'll put a little window kind of floating in that so you can see what we're doing, because otherwise you'll be blind and it's just not worth it. So force on, and up the top, and to control the size of this, up the top it says default display size 1920 by 1080, default preview size, percentage of actual, and then 25%. And right now, what that means is that your preview size, like your actual size that you want it to display, is 1920 by 1080, but your preview size is going to be 25% of that, which means it's going to be a small box and not the whole screen, and then you can't work because you can't figure out the Windows sizes. So 25% usually works really well. If you want to see more detail, you can up it to 50, but then you also are covering your working screen as well. So that's why 25% is kind of a nice medium. And then as soon as you do that, just close that out by the X button at the top, and cannot see my mouse, which is unfortunate.
I hate to say this, but I am so not following anything that you said.
All right, where are you?
Is there a way, I'm just wondering if I don't want to hold up the session. Is
No
there a way
problem.
that you can put your instructions in the chat so if I miss what you're saying, I can follow along?
You can go back.
Does that sound okay to folks? Would that be useful?
Yeah, it didn't work the same on my computer, Callie. I had to go to output and check for stage preview.
Oh yeah, there are two ways of doing that. Can you go to stage setup? Is there an option for stage setup?
I did, but then
Yeah.
I didn't get the black box.
You
I'm also using a second monitor.
Oh, sometimes it floats over to that second monitor. Sometimes that box opens up in the other monitor.
It did, but it opened up where I couldn't see my
mouse,
and I couldn't minimize it, so I was going to lose the zoom. So when I forced stage monitor in out, which is the second from the top in output, I was able to get the small black box, which is how I've used it before.
And if you can't close it, is that the deal? Is that the issue at the moment?
I can't close the one on my second monitor.
Right.
So I got what you're doing, just I went about it a different way.
Got it. And your mouse can't go over to the second monitor to close it. Is that correct?
I have hidden that.
Oh.
I think I got rid of it. I unchecked the thing that you said to check because it was interfering with me seeing your Zoom.
Yeah, it's always very hard to do the Zoom thing. If we were in person, it would be much simpler with more display options. If you have a second monitor, is the Zoom on the second monitor currently, or is the Zoom on your primary?
The Zoom's on my second monitor.
If you can move the Zoom over to your primary monitor.
Well, no, I'm all set.
You're all set.
Yeah, no, I'm just saying I had gotten to it as a second way, which might help whoever was saying they were having.
Oh, okay.
That's all I was saying.
Jessica, are you still lost? You don't know. Where are you? Just so I know.
Okay, so I went, all right, clicking back over to Isadora menu, output, stage setup. And then 25% at the top. And that's it?
Yep. And then, no, there's one more button. Down the bottom, very last line, it says preview, use default. And then next to that, there's a tiny checkbox that says force on. Click on that.
Okay.
And then close out of this dialog box. Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah, you come in. I don't know what the heck's happening here.
Thanks. I was lost too, but now I'm back.
I was wondering what happened. All right. All right. So we're here in this lovely gray box, and they should have that. I don't, but that's okay. You should have a little black floating window somewhere around your environment so you can see the output. And currently it's black and nothing's happening and there's nothing loaded. And that's where we're always starting from. I'm just going to go through a little bit of the environment first. On the left-hand side, you have all these things. In the top, it's labeled user actors. And user actors are basically the things that, the elements that are going to define all the ins and outs of our project. There are different types of these things. If you hover over that first little box, it looks like a rectangle. Yeah, and then at the top, it'll change from user actors to video effects. So if you click on that, it'll just show you video effects. The next one is video sources. If you click on that, it'll show you just video sources, and so forth and so on. There were video renderers, GLSL shaders may or may not be there depending on how you installed it. Free frame effects, color, audio, MIDI, generators, mouse and keyboard, calculation, control, scene control, communications, user actors, and favorites. And sometimes the favorites is really a neat place to put things that you use often if you really want to hyper mobilize your workflow in terms of getting it nice and streamlined. Sometimes you can put things in there.
Right. How did you get that set of options to the left screen? Because sorry, the
You just hover
recording
over.
button is over where your mouse is, so I couldn't see what you clicked on.
Oh no. Yeah. I'm just clicking on them.
Because I have like decay generator,
Yep.
envelope generator.
Yeah, way up the top where the little pictures are, not the words, but the actual pictures, the little icons.
There's no icons on mine.
Does anybody else not see icons? Should be. Are you on a Mac or PC?
Oh, okay. I found
You
it.
found it?
Sorry.
Okay.
Yes, I know what
That's
happened. Yes, sorry.
Okay, cool. So those are things that like make up all the functionality of the whole program. And then we're going to go all the way over to our right side. And if you've loaded the patch file, there should be 5 videos in the video file bin. And they should be numbered 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 with their file names next to them. And then sound samples with only 1 file in there, and that's labeled number 1. And that's just the sound file that loaded. If you didn't load the video files, these would be blank, but they would still be labeled 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 with, forget what it says, defaulted when there's nothing there, but there's just grayed out in a way. So,
Callie,
yep.
a question.
Mhm.
I think I missed the part where you said, how do I see the black little block, like in the bottom right? I don't see it here.
Do you have a second monitor or you just have one monitor?
No, I don't have second monitor.
Okay, so did you go to output stage setup? Make sure it says forced on.
What is that?
Output up the top in the menu.
Okay.
Stage setup.
Okay.
And then on the bottom, it says preview. Use default, and then next to that, force on. Click on that box.
Okay.
And then close that, and you should have a floating stage window.
So I can close it then. No.
What happened? You don't have a floating stage window?
No, I'll try it again. So I
Okay,
go to
keep trying.
Okay,
Output.
I'll repeat it.
I'll put it. Output stage setup. Under preview. Force on, and I will put that in the chat. A little
I
checkbox.
haven't either.
You don't have it? Would you don't have the
I'll
window
repeat.
floating?
I don't have the floating window. So I'll try the steps again too.
Yeah, it's weird.
So I did until force on, and then what do you do?
And then just close out that box with the X at the top, or the whatever you have at the top. Just close it out. Who's on a Mac that got it to work?
Okay, I have a Mac, but it doesn't work.
I was like, I think it's the same. I'm pretty sure.
I didn't have the little black window until I, like, instead of opening Isadora, the Isadora application on my own, I opened the Isadora file that Callie sent, like whatever the patch file was, and then it worked with the window. Then I went to output and show stage or whatever. Blah, blah.
And it
So I don't
worked.
know if yeah, because before I had just opened like just the Isadora program itself by itself, and I couldn't get the screen, and then I opened the file that she sent,
And you did
the
get the screen.
patch file, and I did, and then I went to show stages and output, and then the black screen just shut up.
All right. This is always the stickiest part, I swear to God. Just making sure everybody gets the platform right. And then we can fly, I swear. It'll work. Yeah, it should. Naomi said that's true. Are you encountering nothing as the troubleshooting goes? Like nothing is working, or making sure it's not hidden behind something else?
I was just gonna say that, I was wondering, because I had to do my like zoom out windows to see the full preview window. So if you're on a Mac, if you press that button where you like all your windows do this, you might be able to see it.
Do you know which button that is? I usually just hit it accidentally. I'm like, oh, there it is. Is it
I can
F3?
actually show you
Oh,
I
look
think
at that.
it's F3.
this button. It might look slightly different.
Yeah, it's F3 on my Mac.
And then the only way I'm able to get the small window, not full screen, is through that other way.
Which is output force on, force stage, whatever that is, force stage.
Yeah,
preview.
yeah, not going through the actual setup.
Yeah.
I don't
If-
know why. That's actually how I learned that preview option first.
Yeah, it doesn't work when you have two monitors. It gets wonky when I do that, so that's why I did the other way.
Oh, I also have a really old operating system. I did not like really old for reasons.
Okay. Okay.
For DVD playing reasons. I
Yeah,
want
some
the DVD player to keep working.
Yep, makes sense. So Emily and Mariela, if you go to output and just do four stage preview, see if that works instead of the other method.
Yes, that works
That works. Okay.
for me.
Mariela, let us know what, or you want to
Yeah,
just keep poking around.
no, what I did is I went to output, and then I did the first button on the top in the menu,
Mhm.
and it appeared a black window that says Untitled Stage 1.
Yes, that's what you want. It's
It says
black.
that.
Yes.
Yeah, it's like, okay. I was just clicking everything. Now my
Okay.
computer is very small, so I have like so many windows at the same time.
Yeah. No, I know. We're all on the same boat. Yeah. If we were live, we wouldn't have to do the other windows, but this one is good. So, all right, we're here. Yay, we're here. I want you to click on, look at the bottom of the patch file I sent you. There you should have little squares, little rectangles that says black, scene 1, black, untitled, countdown, countdown keyed, and untitled 1. Those are your scenes. The one that's highlighted blue is the one that is going to be active. And right now, the first cue or first, I'll explain queuing later. The first scene is black because there's nothing in that patch. I want you to go ahead and just, with black highlighted, hit the space bar. And you should have stars. Yay. This is just some random, video file I downloaded off of a stock footage website. So it's not doing much but playing a file that's already been designed. And if you notice up on the top, you have 2 actors. One is movie player and one is projector. And they're connected with a little green line, which is just if you imagine a cable going through each one of them. If you hover over the green line, you can do it, sometimes it doesn't work. You should see like a little preview of what that output is. So it's so freaky. Well, mine's not working right now. It just did 3 seconds ago, but anyway, that's not so important. But if you can get it to work, there we go. It's sometimes pretty cool. So let's go over the parameters in movie player, and then we're going to recreate this. Okay, so movie player, I'm going to just extend this a little bit so you can see. Your parameters are movie, visible, speed, position, play start, play length, loop enable, volume, pan, optimize, alpha mode. Those are your input parameters. Movie, I want you to just click in this box and then just press backspace or delete. Actually, just press 0, enter. And now you don't have a movie anymore. And what this is that anything in the bin over here, those numbers that are correlating to the actual files, those are the numbers you're going to put into the movie player of the file you want to be played. So if you click in the movie parameter field and just type 1, enter, now you should have an I. Yes? Everybody have an eye? No.
Callie,
you
can you
load-
go over again how to delete the video associated with movie player
Yep.
one more time?
Just click on the little, can you see my mouse?
Yes, now I can.
Click inside that parameter field.
Okay.
Click inside of it and just press 0, enter.
Okay.
Right. And that's just to kind of get rid of it, to say like, I don't want that movie there. Usually you can go like 1, enter, right? And if we want to change it to something else, you could do 2, enter. And that's the lady swimming. And 3, enter is the space.
Hey, Callie, I don't know if anyone else is having this problem. Would you mind moving your box that you're typing those things in just a little bit lower because of where the remove pin recordings? Yes, just like some. Exactly.
Oh, yeah, I
you.
forget there's all these layers.
Yeah,
Right.
so I don't know if anyone else had that problem, but it was just like right.
No,
in
I was
exactly the worst
struggling. I
spot.
was like kind of
Okay.
guessing.
Can't
and
see.
Thank you, Riley.
Yay! I'm like,
Sorry,
come on,
sorry.
people. All right, now you can see it better. It's like less obstructed. This is always good. And I want you to just click on the projector button and just click, I mean, the whole thing so it turns blue, and then press backspace. So it should disappear completely.
I'm still a little behind. I didn't get to the I part, and no, yeah. Sorry,
It's
I'm like
fine.
trying to. I'm on a laptop. This is a little bit of.
It's wonky. Yeah, so just go to projector actor, click on it, and press backspace, so it disappears.
Okay.
Right. So if that ever happens, if someone loaded a file for you and you're like, oh no, what happened? It disappeared. You want to put it back? There are 2 methods to add an actor to the stage. One is to go along the list on the side that shows you all the actors, and you can just basically click on God, now I'm not in the right place. Doo-doo-doo. You can search up the top for what you want. So you can say projector, right? Up the top and that you can't see because it's hidden by something. Let me see. Does it help if I make this like that? Can you see that? No, you can't even see that what I'm doing. Shoot, it's not updating. Thought you did. Oh, yeah, but it's not moving. Huh. How about this?
I did find projector though.
Okay,
I
good.
I did type in and like find that. So I'm following along with your work.
I'm just going to make this slightly smaller so then maybe that'll help you when I get up to the upper left-hand corner. Yeah, so we find projector in that list. If you click on projector, a plus button should show up. Then you bring it onto this into the stage area, and then you can drop it there, right? But if you notice, it's still like your movie is not playing when you do that. And it's because we haven't connected the movie player to the projector. And to do that, we're going to click on versus video out, the little green dot, click on that, release it, and then just bring your mouse over to where you want to put it in the video input and then click on video. It's just called video and projector actor.
So I have the projector and I move my mouse over it and I get the plus sign, but it won't let me drag it over.
Well, let you drag it over. Let's see if I can recreate what you're doing.
I've tried double clicking.
No, just single click, release, and then just without holding anything down, just bring it over.
Got it. Thank you.
Yeah, and then click. And then the same thing with here is click release, click.
Thank you.
Yeah. And so, you know, that's a basic, like, here's a movie playing. Now I want you to do something radical and just select all of them by drawing, clicking and dragging a box around those two things that are there, the movie player and the projector. And I want you to press delete or backspace. So you're deleting it completely. And now we have that blank scene again where there's nothing there and nothing's playing. No. Or clicking on each one of them, pressing delete on each one of them, that also works. Or select all, delete also works. Okay, and then so on the right-hand side where the video files are, I want you to click on video file 1 and click and hold and drag to the stage and release. Did that work for everyone? Yes. So that's a shortcut way of creating the same thing of just playing a movie. You can do that, or from the side, or double clicking in the stage. Now you have your search box there, and you can just type in movie, and movie player will come up. So and then you select movie player, and then you double click, and you say projector, and projector will come up. So there are different ways of creating, you know, putting actors on the stage. Number one, you can go to the left-hand side, find your actor, click and place it. Number two, if it's just a video file or an audio file, you can click in your bin and drag it over. Number three, you can double click in the stage and a search dialog box come up, and then you type in, if you know the name of the actor, you type in your search criteria. If I put movie without player, it shows me everything that says movie, movie player, capture the camera movie, capture the stage movie, MTC movie locker. You know, movie player is what we want. So that's what shows up when we click on that. The best way I found to learn, because you kind of have to learn what the actors are called, because I mean, you have to find them somehow. The best way to learn, I think, is going over to the left-hand side and just looking at the names and doing that way for a while until you're really comfortable. And then if you know now, and I know it's called a movie player, the thing that plays the movie, I can just search for it by double clicking on the stage. Is that clear for everyone? Yes.
Kelly, how do I add a movie to the movie player? Like if I were to just double tap the screen,
Mhm.
select movie player, then how do I add a movie to that?
So you have to add if all the video files that you want to be played in any scene, in the whole file, you have to add it to the video bin on the right-hand side. Once you add it to the video bin, then you can look at the correlating number.
Okay.
So, and then you put it in the first field that says movie.
Got it.
And you put 1 enter,
Got it.
and I'll put there. I'm going to teach you one more thing that's the most useful thing in terms of learning this by yourself. Developers want you to succeed, I feel like. I think the developers in Isadora want you to succeed. So in order to do that, they've hidden these kind of like help sections within each parameter of everything that's on the stage. So if you right click on the word where it says like little eyeball movie player, if you right click on that, and you'll see a little dialog box that says actor help. You can left click on that and it will tell you what the movie player is for.
Wait, say that again?
Oh, sorry, option clicked, Mac people. Option click on movie player to bring up the drop down menu, and you cannot see that.
Option click the movie player.
Text of the top, like this part.
On Mac, it's control click.
Control
No.
click.
Control. Okay. I was like, I have a cute little
Yeah.
magnifying glass.
Yeah,
but-
no right clicking. Sorry. Control click and then actor help will show up. You can click on that and it tells you exactly what that's for. And that can be done on any parameter in any actor. So go to visible, do the same thing. Actor input help for movie player, visible input. Turn this property on to load the movie and play it. Turn it off to unload the movie and stop playing it. It's very useful. Whenever you have questions, you don't even have to go to Google. You just go inside Isadora and it'll tell you what the heck it does. I mean, this is like the most useful tool in terms of learning it. Just clicking around and figuring out what it means. And most of them are pretty good. Like the writing is pretty on par with like your basic understanding of it. So let's go through a couple of parameters within these two actors because there are quite a few of them and a lot of them are pretty much explanatory. So you have movie, which we've gone through. Stage, we're not going to do that right now. Visible on, or you can toggle it off. So if you click inside the little input boxes, if you drag up or down, hold and drag up or down on your mouse, that can toggle what the options are. Speed can only go up in Isadora to 2, I believe. I don't think it can go to 3. No, it'll default to 2, which is double the speed here. Or you can do minus numbers, which might not work on this for me because it's the wrong type of file that I loaded, but it might work for you. So you can do minus numbers to play backwards. So the slowest we can do is -2, so double the speed backwards. The fastest we can do is speed 2, which is double the speed forward. 0 is stop. 1 is normal speed, and -1 is reverse speed at the regular rate. Position is basically, so I'm going to give you a little bit of background here. If you look at position on the left side and then position on the right side, the position on the right side tells you where you are in the clip in percentage. So it's not in time code. In Isadora 3, they've introduced time code as an option if you needed it. So if you have like a minute-long clip and you need to know when, 30 seconds is, it's hard. It's easy to do the math to say, oh, that's 50%, but sometimes it gets really confusing and you need the time code and you're like, ah. So to get the time code, if you control click or right click on movie player, but not on a parameter, just kind of in the empty spaces, click on it first left, and then you'll get a dialog box halfway down. It says use time code, and that will now transform the percentage into actual time code. So now it's not in percentage, it says 7 seconds, 8 seconds. This clip is 9 seconds long, for instance. And then the position on the left is to cue it up to where you want it to be. So if you're in the theater and someone says, oh, I need it at 5 minutes, you can just type in 5, the 05:00 semicolon 00, and it will go to 5 minutes exactly. If you want it to like just start there, you can do like speed 0, position 00, 000, 0, like say 2 seconds. It will start at 2 seconds, and now it's at position 0, which means that, speed 0, which means it's like paused for a second, and then you just do speed 1, enter, and it will play from that point.
So position is always a timing thing, not a spatial thing.
Yes, yes,
Okay,
not spatial,
okay.
not spatial. We'll
Okay,
go to
no-
that later,
no
and that's
space.
on the output of most things, but sometimes it's on the input.
Okay.
Yes, position is a time thing. I'm going to move it back to percentage because I hate using time code when I don't have to, because it's not as simple as just a number. It's like you have to put semicolons and stuff in there.
And with time code, it's the position on the left where you would tell it when it enters. Is that right?
Where you want the playhead to be.
Okay.
Right. And it's actually connected to, can be used strategically in the next parameter, which is the play start. Play start is like, where do you want the playhead to actually start? Right.
Oh, okay. Okay. Gotcha.
So I want my playhead to start at 2 seconds in, since it's a very short clip. And I want my play length, right now it's at 100%. So right now it starts at 2 seconds in, it goes all the way through, it goes back to the beginning again, and that's my play end. If you notice on the starting of that green line down the bottom, there are 2 triangles. That's your ins and outs, basically. But say I only wanted to play half of the clip, right? And the play length, you can say 50, and now it'll only play half of that clip starting at 2 seconds. 2% sorry. 2% in, like 2% in.
Callie,
And-
could you,
yep.
sorry to interrupt. I was just wondering if you could zoom in on your patch a tiny bit, because it's just the text is a little fuzzy. So I think it'll be easier for me to see if you could just make the actors a tiny bit bigger.
Hold on one sec. Just trying to figure out a method to do that best. I guess I can just do that.
No, use the zoom buttons at the bottom right, the magnifying glass.
I don't have,
Eric
I
chiming
have a
in.
PC and there's no such thing.
Really?
Got it.
Oh,
I can do the zoom buttons in Isadora, but it will only, I could do that, I guess. But it's not my full screen.
Yeah, I see. That's okay. I just,
I can do that, but it only magnify the actors itself.
yeah,
that's
great,
helpful?
actually. That's
Okay,
super
that's helpful.
That's
Okay,
super helpful. Thank
That's
you.
easier for me anyway. Yay. Yeah, move it down so it's not so far up. So yeah, that's probably better for you guys. Sorry about that. So do you see that this, and you can see my mouse, cool. That these ins and outs, now, if you wanted to, you can manually like move them around. You can click on these little things and move them in and out. So then you can just adjust your playhead accordingly without thinking about numbers. It's more a visual thing. And that's sometimes very helpful. And then you can figure out like what the numbers are. But so the next parameter we have is loop enable, and there are 3 parameters for the values for that: on, off palindrome. And on is just, yep, it's going to loop. It's going to go back to the beginning again every single time. Off is just going to play through and then it's going to stop at the end. And palindrome, which is not going to work on this particular clip on my particular computer, plays it back and forth. So it plays it forward, and then when it gets to the end, it plays it backwards, and it continues to do that. Forward, backward, forward, backward, forward, backward. Volume is the volume of the clip in sound, and pan is left, right, but I hardly ever use this for any reason whatsoever. Optimize, performance, the other ones are, and interaction. So performance is like, if it's just going to play by itself and it doesn't need to interact with anything else, you're going to optimize that for performance. If there's some sort of interactivity in the patch itself, and you need it to move back and forth really quickly or be ready to change its state very quickly, you would choose interaction. But for now, we're going to leave it on performance. And alpha mode is basically if you have a video file which has an alpha channel in it, you would use these parameters to set whether or not how you wanted that alpha channel to interact. On the right side, you have all the outputs. So on the left side is all the inputs, and on the right side, you have all the outputs. And this is video out. If there's a trigger to be had, like sometimes in a show, I'm just going to use something that I typically use, and you don't have to understand it completely. So we're not going to actually connect them because then it'll go to the next thing. So this is a comparator actor. If I decided that okay, I'm just going to type it because I can't find it. A comparator takes one value, compares it to another value, and when that thing is whatever the compare value is, right now it's set to greater or equal than, then it initiates a trigger of true for this particular model. And that trigger, we can take the trigger wire and click it into the trigger of a jump actor. Jump actor is basically like to move from scene to scene. You know, +1 would bring you to Q3 or scene 3. If I did +2, that would be relative to the positioning of the scene. So it would be into untitled instead of black. Fade mode is additive, above or below, like which is the layer, or is it equal? Additive would be equal. And the fade time would be 0 seconds, or like we could put like a 5-second fade on it. So say I had a video clip and I knew that I wanted the scenes to change at the end of the video clip, and say it's a normal clip where the play length is 100, our loop enable is off. So at position, well, I'll get to this other point later. Not all clips are 100%, and that has to do with frame rates. At the position of 98.93, so we're going to put in value to 98.9, let's say 2, just to be safe. And we're going to connect this value with that. At that time, this true value is going to send a trigger, which I haven't connected because it's going to jump it, or I could just, and then it will fade into that next scene, right? Which happens to be the sound layer. Now, I know that's probably overwhelming information right now because I haven't explained a lot of what goes into it, but I forgot to say this at the onset. All this stuff I think of as non-linear learning. So you're not going to learn step by step everything. You're going to, usually it's like, you know, trying to figure out a project, trying to make that project work, whatever you need to do to make that work, you do. And sometimes you use stuff and you don't even know why it works because you found it on some Google thing. And that's perfectly fine because you're not learning in sequence of like, first you do this and then you do this. You're just kind of gathering information in. So I kind of jumped ahead a little bit because
Oh, sorry.
sometimes that's how it's useful. And you don't have to understand it. Just know that it exists. That's all. Yes, Emily.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. So I connected the jump
Mhm.
inadvertently to my comparator, but
Oh,
now
yeah.
every time I try to go back
Yeah,
to scene
don't
one
do
to
that.
edit it,
Yeah, I know it, and then it's gonna go back because
now
it's
it
gonna be
keeps
0,
jumping
0.
and I can't get it to stay anymore.
Yeah.
Can I like speed delete jump? I don't know. If that's
Nope,
possible.
there's something very fancy and awesome. Up at the top, there's in scenes, there's something called blind mode. And I wasn't even going to show you this, but this is like the emergency help. I've made something break. I don't know how to make it stop.
Okay.
Go to blind mode, and now your scenes down the bottom turn red.
Okay.
And there, that now you can jump between each thing. It's not doing anything. It's only rendering on the scene that you just left, whatever scene you just left. It's only playing that. Like, say you're in a theater, right? And the director says, while the next, like, say you just left a scene, right? And the director said, oh, in that scene, it would be great to fix this thing while the other scene is playing. You're like, you can't go back because it would affect what's going on stage. So you go into blind mode while the other thing is playing, you go back and you fix it and nothing is happening, you know, like, so the director doesn't know. And then you jump back into where you were and then you disable blind mode to be like, wow, I just did 2 things at once. This is awesome. So it's a way to kind of like fix things that are either buggy or that you need to go fix while something else is running. In I think lighting consoles, they have this as well. So it's modeled off of that. Okay, so I know that was completely, it's okay if you don't get this, but that is like a simple like tool. So now we're gonna go to the next scene. Let's see. We're gonna go into the untitled scene at the moment, and little dots. Oh goodness, computer's doing weird things. And right now we have a sound player. This is another actor that's pretty important, but also only is activated with WAV files. So if you have an MP3 file, this does not work. This will only work with WAV files. So your MP3 files will actually get loaded into the video file section. It will not get loaded into the sound sample section for whatever reason. So that's why I gave you this WAV file just to test out speeds and things like that in this particular sound player. Isadora is not like, Isadora is better at doing video files than it is at sound files. They're trying to make the sound things better, but it's primarily used for video at the moment. And with this supplemental sound thing that mostly works for basic things, if you want to get more complicated, then you're probably going to like want to go into Ableton and then route everything to make it work together in various protocols. And we're not going to go there today at all. We're just not going to go there. So let's go into the sound player. And if you notice that nothing is playing because it's unlike the movie player, it has a start and a stop trigger. Okay, so the movie player, when you take a movie and you put it on to it just automatically plays, right? The sound player, it does not behave that way. It needs a trigger to know when it starts. Now, if you want to do something simple, like when you enter the scene, the sound player starts, you can use this actor called the enter scene trigger. And that just means when the scene is activated, it'll send a trigger immediately. And you could just move the wire from the trigger to the start input. Go back to the black scene by clicking on the bottom, hit spacebar, because that's how you toggle between the scenes, or you can click on them. So you can either click on it untitled, or you can click the spacebar. And now that should start, and I don't know what my volume is. Oh, because never mind, I can't hear it. You might be able to hear it. And then all the parameters are similar to the movie player. So you have a sound, sample a channel, which we're not going to go there right now, and routing, we're not going to go there right now. Start, stop, those things are pretty basic and probably need to know. Speed, I don't know how far up we can go here. Oh, I forgot to show you this one. You can go up to 10. Here's another thing that I forgot to mention. Each parameter, so these are parameters, has a minimum value, or most of these parameters have a minimum value and a maximum value, right? To see what those values are or to change them, you can just single click on the word and a little dialog box will come up and it says scale min 0, scale max 10. And say you were in a show where you didn't want it to go past 1. You never wanted it to go past 1. You can just put scale min 0 or even scale min 1, scale max 1, and that will never, ever be able to change beyond 1. So even if you type 2, it'll still go back to 1 because the minimum value is 1 and the maximum value is 1. So therefore it like locks it into speed 1. You could do the opposite where you needed a range between 0 and 10, which is its default at the moment. Or if you needed a range between 0 and 5, you could put 5. And now you can only go, where did you go? Oops. You can only go up to 5. So 2 would be okay. 3 would be okay. 7, oops, and anything decimal in between. 7 would not be okay. It would jump back to 5. Or, yeah, and it probably won't go past 10 anyway, because that's its maximum of the actor itself, the parameter itself. This initialize button is also very helpful, where if you were in a show and you were playing around with stuff in this scene and you left it that way and you went to the next scene and then you came back, it will be where you left it, right? But if you wanted to default it to back to 1 or back to 2, use this initialize button here, checkbox, to make sure that when you come back, it's always going to start where you want it to be, not where you left it before. Does that make sense? Yes.
I don't know. I don't know.
You don't know?
No.
So here, I'll do a practical example. I take the initialize off, right?
Is this sound, right? This is
Yeah, this is sound.
When
but this is any actor.
Right.
Has the same things in it. Like if we go back to the movie player and I click on speed, right? I left click on it, the same dialog box comes up, initialize, scale min, and scale max. If I only, okay, just put it this way. If I don't initialize this at all, right? Just leave it the way I am. I change the speed. I'm playing around in the theater. I don't know, playing the speed. And I say 2, right? I leave the scene. I come back. It's still on 2. We don't want that to happen in a show, because what happens is you're screwing around with it and now you left it in the wrong place. And now you're like, that's not where I wanted it to be. So that's where you use the initialize function. Initialize 1, okay? I played around with it. I put 2. I go back. I go away. I come back. Guess what? It goes back to 1 because we wanted it to start on 1 every single time we come back into the scene.
Can you tell me more about the word initialize?
Yeah, it's like initialize, like the word itself. What does it mean? It means when it's starting. The initialize, like before you start, like where does it start from?
Okay.
Does that make sense? Yeah.
Kelly, a question. For example, in the sound, and you are talking about the speed. So I can control the numbers of the speed and to know where I start and when I finish. But do I have like a feature where I can do it more like visually? Like say like I can draw like the the journey of the speed more than just to be like a, because it might work in some projects, but if I want to have like something more like either smooth or more psychedelic way of using the speed, do you have like a more like a graphic
Yes.
way of doing it?
Yes, we will. I was going to get there, but we can jump there now. So, so that would be more like a generator or and now I can't remember the name of the other generator. There's one generator that's absolutely amazing where you can draw it. So you can actually like draw it, but I'm going to show you just a wave generator just for practical purposes here. So if you double click on here, or you can go over to the side and just type in the word wave, it'll bring up something called a wave generator. And that generator will pass values from 0 to 100 and back to 0. So it only goes up to 100. That's the standard for this particular actor. The shape of those values right now is on a sine wave. So frequency is like how fast it goes through this shape, and it always measures in hertz. Now, sometimes that's problematic when you want it to value in seconds and you have to do a conversion. 1 hertz is 1 second. But you know, if you do 2 hertz, it's not 2 seconds, it's half a second. Right? So it's the inverse of what you want it to be. So you have to do negative values or decimal values, not negative values, decimal values to get double. So like 0.5 hertz is 2 seconds. Right, and you can use a converter online. Sometimes that is helpful to get the second value of hertz. So say we want it 2 seconds. It goes from 0 to 100 in 1 second and 100 to 0 in the other second with a bell curve-y type of shape. If we wanted to change that shape, if you go to sine wave and you just click on a little dot next to it, there's a slider that goes up and it goes through each shape. So sawtooth is the next one. Triangle is a straight 0 to 100, 100 to 0. Square is a jump from 0 to 100, stays for half of the shape, and then drops way down to 0 for the rest of the shape. And then you have random, and random is just random. So if you want something all over the place, you can choose that. Sometimes it freaks certain things out just because it's just like more processing. But we can stay on sine wave because that's always a nice like ease in, ease out kind of value. And you can hook these values into the inputs of an actor. So in this case, a sound player. But if we remember that when we went to speed, our maximum value is 10 and our minimum value is 0. These values obviously won't make the speed go up to 100, even though it says 100. It will automatically scale it to where, so 0 will be 0. And in the speed value, the maximum would be 10. So 100 would equal 10. Yes, because it's scaling it. It's not going up to 100. So watch what happens. We just go from here, go into speed. And now if you see the numbers, it goes 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 1, 2, 3, 6, 9, 10. It's not going to go up to 100 because it's automatically built into Isadora that it will scale it. It won't go past that scaling value. Does that make sense?
Kelly, I'm not able to actually read the things you're doing on the screen, so I'm trying to follow up. What is the name of the generator that you've got going here again? Oh, thank you. That helps.
Yeah, wave generator.
Wave generator. Awesome.
I'll just keep using this magnifying glass.
Sorry, I know. I was like, I'm just gonna do it, recreate it myself so I can see.
Yeah, wave generator is what it is. There is another, and I can't remember what it's called, and I don't even know if it's an actual actor or if it's a user actor that someone made. It might be a user actor that someone made. there's another generator that allows you to actually draw the shape. I believe someone created it and uploaded it to the Isadora site. So on the Isadora site, there's a whole library of what's called plugins, which we'll get to maybe, and user actors that people have created themselves and shared with the community. And sometimes those are very helpful because you don't have to do them yourself. Someone else already did this thing, and you can download them and use them in your own patch. Like I used something that Graham Thorne, who is a master Isadora user and makes a whole bunch of patches that he just like uploads to the Isadora site, had made, and it was a countdown mechanism. So for a live streaming show, you need a timer that, you know, gives a countdown to a certain time. And he made a whole actor that you can pick your time zone, you pick the time that you want it to count down to, and you just drag and drop it into your scene. And now you have this cool little functional like countdown timer without doing any patching or anything, because he created it and shared it with the world. So sometimes some functions, if they seem way too much over your head, you can probably go see if someone else had made one and then incorporate it into your patch instead of trying to do it from scratch and getting frustrated. Or if you wanted to act like somewhat similarly, but not exactly, you use their patch and then kind of reshape it to what you want it to do. Sometimes that's helpful to know that it is kind of like a interesting community. It's like a very giving community, I want to say, in the Isadora land, where people do share what they've created so that other people can use it. Yeah. So Mariela, did this answer your question in a way of like, maybe Mariela,
Sorry?
did this answer your question about
Oh,
using a
yeah.
shape? Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this generators, there's also something called a envelope generator, which basically, unlike the wave generator, I mean, you can take the wave generator and use this value once and turn it to on, and it will only do that once, right? Off means it's looping. On means it's doing it once and then stopping. If you wanted something much more like, move this up a little bit.
Could we hear this? Like what, like
I
if this is
know.
essentially to play sound, could we hear what that, like how
sounds
that
like?
works? Yeah, to like get something to.
I could try, because I have my Bluetooth earphones in, and sometimes that doesn't work.
Or like I don't fully understand like what the difference, like the different shapes of the waves are. I don't fully understand what that
Sounds
means.
pretty crazy. I did it on my own computer. It's pretty cool. And I was just playing around with the video, the same.
Yeah, we can. Yeah, we can do. Oh, you didn't do it with the sound?
I did it with both.
You did it with both. Yeah, yeah, it does really fun things.
Though there's some.
Like I don't know how to hear that.
Can you hear that or no?
Yeah.
Yeah. I just shift off my.
How do I hear that?
Do you have anything muted or anything? Oh, press the start. Press the start. Trigger, just click it.
What?
Yeah, I hooked it up and then I went back a scene and pressed space bar to activate the music to hear.
Oh, wait a second.
You should have the enter scene trigger to the start button will help too.
Trigger to the start button. That's yeah. Okay.
And then go forward and then go back again. Or you can just click in it sometimes.
I don't hear it.
Do you have your speakers set to your earbuds?
Yeah.
Yeah, sometimes.
Okay, yeah.
You have to just speakers set to like the computer. Unless you have Soundflower installed into your computer, which you probably don't.
You can also hit, I found success at hitting like the little buttons like the play, stop, pause sound at the bottom of the sound player. I have my earphones in and I can hear it on mine.
Oh, you could press these buttons down here, Emily. Is that what you're saying?
Make it stop.
Yeah, push the stop button at the bottom. At the bottom. I had to find that too.
Yeah, and those buttons are created not for in show. Those buttons were created for like, I don't know, if you're in a rehearsal or something, you just need to like do it quickly. It's preferred not to use that in the show.
Emily, are you talking about the buttons on your keyboard, or is there something on the screen?
On the sound player at the very bottom, there's tiny little like play button, stop and pause, and then there's a sound button, but I just had to slam the stop button because the sound was driving me bonkers. I didn't know. Yeah.
I don't see that.
Oh, in the actor itself.
In the sound player actor.
Like
box,
next
the
to
very
the
box.
play bar, next to the green play progress bar, there's a play, stop, pause, and little speaker guy.
Yeah, I see those, but it doesn't do anything when I hit the words.
Oh,
Oh, hold on. I don't have that.
you don't have that on your
Mm-mm.
weird.
Yeah, mine looks a lot different than yours.
Do you know what version of Isadora you have?
I'm pretty sure it's
2 or 3.
No, 3. No, like I just bought it like 4 months ago.
Oh, it's interesting. I don't know why you wouldn't have that. Interesting.
Actually, mine looks quite a bit different. I don't have the counter and the 2 outputs on the right.
And you said that your computer is slightly, operating system slightly older.
Yeah, it's like, I mean, it's very old at this point.
It could be that
The operating system, I'm on Sierra.
it's based off of like, I don't know if Isadora folks, you know, don't make certain things or can't make certain things work with certain operating systems. I don't know that answer, but it could be something like that.
Well, I'm getting a 2020 MacBook Air soon. Does Isadora work on Airs?
I think it might. I know that there's been some problems depending on the operating system versions and Mac particularly that you have to do some, in their site, they outline it. You have to do some configuration to make it work.
Got it.
In the onset. Yeah.
That's good to know.
Yeah,
I'm buying it.
I don't know the details.
So it's pretty updated, but thanks.
Yeah, it has to do with permissions or something. I'm not quite sure.
Kelly, Isadora works better with the Windows than Mac?
No, it's either way. It's just that there's some quirkiness of in the new operating system for Mac, you have to be certified or verified in some way, otherwise it won't install or it won't play properly. So you have to go into certain settings to configure that. And on the site, it shows you how.
Are you talking about the new brand, like
new
M1? Okay, yeah, I'm not getting that. But actually, that's another question. That's my boss upgraded to that, so he's selling me his old computer.
Oh, okay.
But if I have a license, it doesn't appear that I can have it on 2 computers. Is that something I should ask them?
You can. They have this thing, it's like a licensing login.
Yeah, no, I did.
And then you can have up to 3. You just can't be playing them at the same time.
Okay, that's good to know.
Yeah, so if you're transferring from one to the other, it'll allow you to do that as long as you haven't activated 2 more computers somewhere along the line. And if you have, you can clear it and then you can just activate the ones that you want. There's a way to do that on the website.
Okay, yeah, that's actually good to know. It looked like it had backup activations. And I was going to like give one temporarily to a friend who was doing a show with me, but then it
Yeah,
will
then you
be
clear it
volume one.
later. Yeah, you can clear
Okay.
it later.
Yeah, that's actually really good, especially with working remotely and having a backup stage manager.
Yeah, exactly. All right, so let's move on. I think that's like a basic overview of like what generators could do. And so that's a simple thing. You put it in the speed and it does some weird thing. That's an awesome like thing. I'm going to jump a little bit and go to the countdown scene. And you'll see that there is a generator kind of patched into this, but there's also 2 movie players and 2 projectors. There's a lot of stuff in between. There's contrast adjust, HSL adjust on both of them. So you'll have like, how to make this easier to see it. I can kind of see it. So we have movie player. It's playing number 5 video, which is the black and white film countdown. It's going in through this other actor, which I'll get to in a moment, contrast adjust. That's going into HSL adjust and then going out to the projector. So I'm just gonna X out of these for a second. So if you have something like this, where it's a movie player and a projector, right? And you figured that this movie, right, needs some color adjustments. You can use, double click on the screen. I'm just doing this from scratch to show you. Contrast adjust. If you remember way back when we were going through color and you have rods and cones in your eyes and you have the cones measure the color and the rods measure the lightness and darkness. If you think about it this way, the contrast adjust is like the lightness and darkness and the contrast between the lightness and the darkness, right? So if you bring in the in-min, which is the value of the darkest color, like the bottom. So if you bring that up, the lowest value there'll be like less of a distance between this and the maximum, which is 100, which is your maximum brightness, right? So the minimum brightness is 61, which means it's kind of like darker, right? If you bring it up, makes it darker. If you bring it, there's more of a distance between 0 and 100 than there is between 65 and 100. So this is useful. This one is my favorite value all the time to get my blacks blacker, basically. And the in max is like, how far does it go? Like how high? So if you bring it down 100, right? Now you've shortened the distance again, just on the other end of the spectrum. And you can play with these values, but usually what works a lot to high contrast, but not blow it out, is to bring the in min up to a point where, you know, you like it. And then the HSL adjust, if you double click and do HSL, bring it in. And the fun thing about Isadora 3, which it wasn't in Isadora 2 or 1, is that if you have a wire between, you know, one actor and another, and if it's a straight line versus a diagonal, so a diagonal, you can't just drag it in between, it won't like click in. But if it's a straight line, you can drag this right into there and that will automatically connect. And this does something similar, but it actually has a value of saturation and hue, which is the cones in your eyes, are red, green, blue, right? So it's color. So if you look down here where I hooked a generator, a wave generator into the hue offset. And if you notice, that's for the movie, the space movie. So it's going through all, and you see it up and down, I'll tell you exactly what it's doing, going through all the range of the hues of the spectrum of color from 0 to 100 and back to 0 again. And if we make it even slower than that, you can see that the space, you know, goes through the rainbow. So that's like another way of using a generator where you want something to shift, you know, over time. You could bring that same generator into the luminance, which is the lightness and the darkness of the space. And we can just bring hue offset back to 0. So it will be normal color, right? Or you can bring that into saturation, which is like how much color is there. And we get the luminance back to 100 to kind of see. Yeah, so it's like either saturated or not. Okay. You can also throw the generator into, let's say in the projector actor, there's something called intensity. So if you want it to like fade in and out, right? So it does something similar than luminance, but it's the entire patch, not just that. It's the end of the chain, put it that way. So notice that we do have 2 projector actors. Projector actors, I mean, originally when I first learned Isadora, I was so frustrated because I thought projectors were actually projectors. They're not. They are just outputs. So you can layer as many projector, quote unquote, projector actors as you want in your scene. Well, not as you want, as your computer can handle. I think, I can't remember the number. There's a maximum number, but you know. Now, each projector is like a stage of sorts. It's like its own little output. And it matters to know this because the parameters that you have on each projector actor, like horizontal positioning, vertical positioning, width, height, zoom, aspect rate, keeping aspect ratio, your blend, your layer intensity, and your on and off and where it goes, is then independent, right? But say you wanted, you know, all of these things that are playing, say you wanted 2 movie players to be played into 1 projector. Now there are multiple ways of doing this because then you can control just the basic output. So like if you wanted them independently and you wanted just the circle to move horizontally, you can do that with a horizontal positioning actor, right? Or the vertical, this is the gross motor version of this. The other is mapping, but we're not going to go there just yet. Vertical positioning. But say you wanted everything to move, you're in the theater and you wanted everything to move to the left, right? And you're like, dear, I'm not going to want to go through each projector actor and do that because that's a pain in the butt. I just want everything to go out into 1. You can do that multiple ways. And it has to do with how you want each movie to blend with the other movie. Right now, blending is on additive blend, right? There are different ways of making blends. And in the projector actor, it's fairly limited to additive, opaque, and transparent, right? So if I say opaque, I'm going to take this off because it's kind of, I want it opaque, but it's on layer 2. Now it just overrides like all the things underneath it and we can't see anything. So I'm going to move this back to additive for a second because additive just means additive. It's just adding the values of the pixel's brightness with the other values beneath it. So, you know, black plus black equals black. White plus black equals gray, like 100% white and 100% black, and put them on top is gray because you're putting them on top of each other. Say I wanted to mix them 50-50. You can do something called multi-mix. Multi-mix just gives you a whole bunch of inputs. It will be consolidated into 1 output. So you take this last of the chain of the movie player, put it into video 1, delete this end of the chain and put it into video 2. And now you have 2 video things playing, and you're gonna hook up the output to the projector actor to one output using, multimix uses an additive blend. Right, so if I, does that make sense? Did I lose anybody anywhere along there? That, you know, I'm
Would you,
details are things, yeah. Go ahead, Emily.
so I'm with you on the multimix. For the settings for the projector, you had to switch that to additive for this to work through the multimix.
No,
Is
this
that-
could be
no.
anything. This can be
Okay.
anything at this point because it's only one. It's only one thing playing. So it doesn't really matter because it's not interacting with anything else. It's by itself. But if it was acting with like another, say you also threw this out to another projector with now it's slightly off so that because our projector is like here, let's make a difference. So the original, this is that same video being played into another projector, but it's also being mixed in the multi-mix combined with this other one to this projector. The interactivity between this projector and this projector is opaque. I think, is that true? I can't remember. I know it matters. There's some sort of leveling matters in the hierarchy of which one is on top. And that's controlled with layer. Or if layer is 0, you can actually move the whole patch physically and it will read top to bottom in the actual stage into this area here. So if this whole chain was on top of the other one over here, it would supersede the one below it. You can also change it with layer. So like layer is 2, right? And this is opaque. Now this is overriding everything. Or if layer 0, this is additive.
So this layering that you're talking about, what's the visual, like what happens visually with that? Would it mean one projector plays and the other doesn't? That,
Okay,
sorry,
you
that's
can't,
where
you can't. No, they both play, but which one takes dominance? Which one is on top of the other one? The layers are like, what is the order in which these things are shown? Like layering paper, right? So, or in Photoshop, it's the same kind of thing. How are we doing on time? We're good. All right. So those two parameters, the blend and the layer, are really just dynamic based off of each other, like how we want to see it. And it's not as apparent. I apologize because it's not, the clip is not. So let me just move the, instead of using the space, which you can't really see the difference, let me use the countdown. So now you can see that there are 2 layers here. One that's one layer, that's a mixture of these 2, and one layer that's independent. That's just this one. I'm gonna do that instead. Okay. Okay. So this one's independent. You can move it around. You know, we can fix that additive, opaque, transparent layer thing. So if you notice now that if I put opaque, now it's on top, you can't see the left half of the galaxy. But more, you know, so say you wanted, if you notice that like the white parts of this countdown, say you didn't want the galaxy to show through it. You didn't want the galaxy to show through the white parts. You only wanted the galaxy to be around the circle. There's another method, and if you go down countdown keyed, we can explore that a bit. And I use something called, bring this up, hold on, so you can see it. Luminance key, and keying is like, you know, any keying, if you're familiar with keying like green screening or anything like that, this is a method to use to kind of get rid of or not show certain portions based off of different things. So luminance is based off of luminance, like how bright it is or dark it is. So you have the same patch, movie player into contrast into HSL, and then into foreground, and then movie player contrast HSL with the wave generator, making it all the colors into background. Okay. Key source is like, where's the key coming from? And we have chosen foreground. Key top is like the top of the key, how much of the lightness, see the top is the white and the bottom is the black. So how much of the whiteness are we using? We're going to say 100 because we want to use all of the whiteness in this instance. And then how much of the bottom are we using? And right now I said it's 2.7, which means, I'm going to just put this to 0 for a second, which means, can you see the edge of the darkness factor of like where it stops? Now, if you just play with these numbers, if you go up, it takes the bottom kind of like drops out, right? Until you come to like almost 100%. Only like the very top of the brightness actually shows. You can go all the way down to the bottom of that, like 15, 17, sounds good to me. It's a little fuzzy. And if you notice that the bottom is like, now you have all this pixelation, and it's very harsh and hard edged. And if you wanted to soften that up a bit, you can use the softness, just up the softness a little bit, so it's a little bit more fuzzy and not as harsh. Sometimes that helps, but it also brings in more of the bottom range slightly. And this video is not alpha, so we can't really use that. Doesn't really make much of a difference. And bypass is basically, if you want to bypass it, not use this thing at all. Like all of the actors usually have a bypass. So like say I didn't want the contrast to adjust and I didn't want to like mess with the numbers and I just want to turn it off. To turn, it's like the whole negative positive thing, because like now it's a double negative. To bypass this, to make it go off, you actually turn it on. So now you bypass the contrast adjust, or bypass the HSL adjust, or bypass the luminance key. Excuse me. Does that make sense? Does anybody have any questions for that? No? Is this useful? I mean, the practical, I feel like this is the most, it's like somewhat practical in terms of like if you want to mix some video together and you want to key something out, this is a way to do it. It's a method to do it depending on your footage. And this footage just happens to be black and white, and it happens to be easy to do this. But when we're dealing with like scenes that have a lot of color in them, it might be the chroma key that might work better for your instance. It depends on what you have and what you want.
So I have a question. With either the multi-mix or luminance key, and I can't figure out where I'd add the wave generator.
Oh, I mean, why? What would you want to?
I don't know. I'm just trying to see what I can do with these.
Right. If you wanted to do like the key top, right? The wave generator, or let's say the key bottom. We know that, what did I put off? Okay, let's turn this back off. Here we go. So we know that the key bottom, we know we want it to go no lower than 26. Let's just say that's a value that we kind of want to hit the bottom. That's the bottom of our numbers. If you click on key bottom and you have scale min, scale max, we know that we can make it go up to 100 if we want, but our minimum, instead of 0, we want it to be 26. Just put 26 in there. And then you can just use the wave generator and put it into key bottom. So it will go from 26 to 100, 26 to 100, 26 to 100, and keying out. I don't know why you would want to do that, but like actually looks kind of fun, maybe.
Okay, yeah, thank you. No, I'm just trying to understand how the actors work.
Yeah.
Yeah, it creates this cool blinking effect.
Yeah, anything with a number you can stick a generator to. Whether or not you want to do that is up to you. Like that's the strategy, you know, you could just play with. Move back to 26. And always note your values. To control your values, you can always go into that, clicking on the word and fixing the minimums and maximums of those values. So then you can get it to like a nice solid place. There is an actor for that that's more external and you can like see it better. And that is the limit scale value actor, which basically does the same exact thing as clicking in here and doing this, but more external. And so like, say I went to key bottom, put this back to 0 again. Okay. And I threw the wave generator into the value here of limit scale value. And I want my limit min is now going to be 26. Sorry, limit min is going to be 0 because that's the like the top two are basically representing what the value of this is. The bottom two are what you want them to be. So then the 26 would go here. And now this value, if you look at the numbers that are generated, they only go from 26 to 100. And you can put this in there and it'll only go from 26 to 100. It's like a more external way of doing it, but you can always do it internally in the parameter itself. Sometimes you want it more external if you're even changing this number. Like if you wanted to stick another, not that, I don't know, I do this, but you could put this wave generator and stick this into that. Now you're like doing all the dynamic things. You know, like why? I don't know. Sometimes you want randomness and that's how you can get it. But they're just values. So playing with those are fun. That way. All right. The next thing I wanted to do with a little bit of, you know, this is like satisfying the need for playing a movie, playing a sound file, manipulating the movie in some like basic senses of like color adjustments, layering them in some ways so that we can, you know, the interactivity has some control. But I wanted to move into using a live video source. Does that sound interesting? Like a camera? Yes? Cool. And this gets more complicated when you're in a theater because then you have cables to run. But to play with, it's also very fun. So I want you to go, I have this, you do not, I created this later. Actually, we're going to do it from scratch. So I want you to write, okay, you're in this scene. I want you to click next to it. So it's now grayed out. And then control click or right click in here and do insert scene. And that's how you create a new scene. Right? Also control I or something like that also does that.
Sorry, Kelly, could you do that for me one more time?
Mm-hmm. So you're here, click next to it and a little cursor will blink and control click and select insert scene, which is all, I think it's also control I. So if you just do clicking and you control I, it'll make a new scene. Now you can relabel the scenes by control click and then go rename scene. Or sometimes I think if you double click in it, yeah, you can double click in it and also change the scene. So I'm going to name it my video, right? And then click back on to the stage. So everybody seems to have a camera. This may or may not work. I hope to God it does. Sometimes the computer has these permission problems where you can't use the same video input as you're using in another application. So if you're using it for Zoom, it's not going to let you use it for Isadora. Sometimes, depending, it all depends. Sometimes it does make it work and sometimes it doesn't. If you have an external camera somewhere like a USB webcam, it's also pretty helpful to have right now. Maybe if you turn off your camera, it might also work and let you do it. It's really a trial and error depending on your setup. So the first thing we need to know, Isadora needs to know, is where is your video source? And to like map it out so Isadora understands what video sources you have, you're going to go into input and you're going to go into live capture settings right up top, which you can't see, unfortunately, in the view that you have of my computer. Hold on. No. Why I can't see that. Well, you're gonna just let me know if you're having trouble. But go into input and go to live capture settings. Now it appeared over here. Is it gonna appear anywhere? Nope. Can't see it.
When I do the preview, it says disabled. I don't know if that's.
Yep. I'll get into that in a minute. Just want to see if you can see what I'm seeing. This will be better. Okay, so here's the window that should show you something. Now mine's enabled because I already did this, and yours is probably not enabled in your, so I'm going to go to like what you might see. You might see that. Is that true? Nothing showing. Okay. So we'll go through each parameter here. This checkbox is enabled, so this enables the channel itself. There are up to 4 channels, so you can have up to 4 live video inputs or audio inputs, depending. For now, we're going to enable it, and this is channel 1. The driver, it varies. You probably never need to pick this, never need to select it. Mine says Windows, yours probably says something else, depending on your operating system and what you have installed. Your video input. Now I have none. Epic Cam, which is this remote control thing on a phone, which you probably don't have. Game Capture, which is my DSLR that, or mirrorless that I'm using now to stream. So I can't select that because I'm using it for Zoom. So I'm going to select the HP Wide Vision camera, which is my default in built-in camera for my laptop. Yours probably is called something else. And I'm going to select that, and you still don't see anything. You still can't see anything. The resolution right now is in native. I'm going to leave that as is because I don't want it to be forced to a different resolution at the moment. I just want to keep it to its default resolution. I can also click on show preview, and right now it still doesn't show anything. It's just going to show this, you can't see that, like a gray box if I click on that. So to make it start, you actually have to click on the start live capture button. And now you should have a little preview in channel 1. Yes? Okay. See, yes, cool. And if you did click on the show preview, you can see like a little window that's next to it. You can exit out of that, and it's not going to have any control over anything that's going to work. And as soon as you get that to turn on with channel 1 having a preview, you can just X out of it. Okay, and I'm going to switch my screen for a sec. Weird. Okay. So in order to get a live video stream into your patch, you're going to double click here or go to the side, whatever method works for you. And you're going to type video in watcher. That is your camera feed basically. And then double click here and just click on projector and then connect them with a cable. And now you should have just a basic video feed going out. Everybody there, or more or less there? No, Emily B said no. Who's not there?
What is it? Can you zoom in? I'm not sure what the box on the left says. Video in Watcher.
Video in Watcher.
It wasn't letting me put that in the patch. I don't know why.
Huh. Are you double clicking on your stage to do it, or are you dragging it from the side? Not
Trying
that
to
it
drag
matters.
it, but
Try
that's
double
fine.
clicking and start typing video.
How do I get the live recording into video and Watcher again? Sorry.
When we went to output live capture settings, that little box the dialog box that comes up,
Mm-hmm.
do you have a little preview in channel 1? Did you click on start live capture?
I did.
You did. And when you did that, did you have like a little tiny preview in the box of channel 1?
Yes.
Hmm.
And then, oh, so I see what I haven't gotten a projector there yet.
Ah, okay.
So that's,
That is what you always need to see things. Is always.
Sorry.
There's too many cameras here. Ah. Yeah, so are we all there pretty much, more or less? Okay, so this is, now it's your video source. Now you have this video source that is a live feed instead of, something like a movie player, right? And have our movies. So you could mix them together, but the other method of just layering them on top of having a movie and then a video behind it, like that's something you could do. You could do that other method where we have the luminance key, but notice that I'm not in a very controlled environment, although it could be controlled if I wanted it to. So noticing that my foreground is my video of my live video and the background is the movie player. And maybe, oh, silly.
Carrie, question.
Yep.
So I got the window. I see myself with the same camera than Zoom.
Mhm.
I got the little window.
Mhm.
Channel 1. I did the preview, but then can you tell me again, how do I get the projector from here?
Double click anywhere in the stage. Double click and then type projector.
Okay.
Yes, and then put the wires between them. You can't see that. Oh, you can't see that. Cool. So I'm just going to do something just radical here. Second. Yeah, it's not working. What did I do?
This is really cool.
Yeah.
Sorry,
Yay.
I have 2 cameras and they're both working.
Oh, yay. All right. I don't know why this is not working the way I want it to.
So this is so fun. One of my cameras is working in real time for me and the Zoom camera works, but it's like half a second delay.
So now you have just a delay to play with. That's always fun. Here, let's do that. Actually, for real, for everybody. Let's forget about this part. So let's say we just want live video. We don't want this. We just want to play with what the heck we can do with live video. My party trick patch, which my 4th grade people love, they absolutely love this patch, is you take one video live in Watcher, you put double click on the stage, type delay and look for video delay, right? And take the wire, put it in the video in, keep that to 30 frames, and then also just copy that and paste it. So you have another video delay and doing the same thing again, patch it in. and change the frames to 60, which is double. And let's go ahead and use the multi-mix. You know, so you have the original, you have the 30 frame delay, and then you have the 60 frame delay, and then make the output go into the projector. So now we have 3. Right. Now it's additive, so it depends on your background. It's going to be more or less like kind of very bright. If you have a dark background, it tends to be more successful. Going back to the 101 lessons where we said, you know, black is nothing, white is everything. So if you add white and white, you're going to get white. If you add white and black, you're going to get gray. If you add black and black, you're going to get black, right? Together. And think of those parameters as you think of each pixel that makes up your feed, right? So this is a very bright feed, and so it's hard to control that so much. We could throw something else in here, like I did before, called a threshold, or what we could also do, and this is why it works really well, is we put something called a colorizer. A colorizer just, you know, colorizes your video. And if you just click it, it's not going to do anything. But if I do 100% red, minus 100 green, and minus 100 blue, it's only going to pick up, it's only going to show you the reds. And then I would, that's why I call it the party trick, do the same thing with green here and blue here. I'm doing this very fast for the sake of time. I'm going to do minus 100 here, 100 in green, and then I'm going to do minus 100 in red, and then make this 100 in blue. And look, it looks like a composite, but then when I move, it separates the 3 colors, but then comes back together for a composite. Kind of a composite, bright composite, because the values aren't quite right, but that's a party trick. Everybody likes this one. Parties like this one, and it's super simple. I mean, in theory. Kids love this one too. They're just like mesmerized by their images. Like, ooh, time. And then you can
Question
shorten
about,
the frame. Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, about the, yeah, actually about the video delay. I'm not able to get the delay to work. What did you adjust on those?
The frames. So 30, this one goes direct, so that's immediate. 30, we can do it like to 2 or whatever, and this could be like 5, and then it's like really blurry, like slight. So it's kind of like a fuzzy thing that happens. Super easy.
Kali, how do you get the delay window?
Double click and type in delay or video, and then you can find it in the drop down.
What is the so what is that little window, like the window where you have all of them going back into to put together? What's that little
multi-mix?
That's the multi-mix. Okay.
Mhm.
Got it.
That one's pretty useful all around when you try to mix stuff that's just plain like additive blending. Otherwise, it does the same as if you took a whole bunch of projectors and stuck them there too.
Mm-hmm.
I'm getting a, I forgot what you called it, the wire. The wire is red for the 2 video delays.
Really?
Mm-hmm. And it's
2 of them,
showing
but
the
not,
delay.
On your video out from your video, if you look at your video in Watcher, your video out, does it say video GPU? Yes. In your video delay and your video in, does it say video GPU?
Haha, I see that I didn't connect
Oh.
The wire with the wires to the other video delay one and video delay two back. Great.
Okay. Good point. Red wires mean something's not working. Green wires are like, yay, it's good. But just with these things that I've shown you, I'm hoping that you can go away and kind of like experiment with plugging things in and feel confident that you're probably not going to break anything. I'm hoping. That's the hope.
Well, this is very helpful. I'm not quite on the color wave thing, which is probably, I feel I'm like waving around trying to get but I have the delay. The delay I definitely
yeah.
need to figure out.
Yeah.
Color super cool.
Yeah. I mean, you forget the values. I now realize that maybe it's this, but it's not this. It's definitely not this. Yeah, it's 0. Just put the one value to 0. It's weird, but now it's like psychedelic, like normal, but it has like a thing going, a rainbow thing going on. Ooh. So,
Callie, I'm sorry.
what happened?
No, I'm here.
You're here. Yeah, you disappeared.
So I did several different kind of delays, but it's hard for me to see your screen. And then I wire each video delay window towards the projector.
Yep. Well, towards the multi-mix. Did you put a multi-mix in there?
No, I did several video delays windows with different frame rates, and then I wired them directly to the projector. Is that not good?
You have to put the multi-mix in between.
And how do I get that one?
Double click on the stage and type multi. And you'll find it.
And I'll do one for each video?
Nope, just one because it takes multiple inputs.
Okay.
What was the name of the color thing again?
Colorizer.
Colorizer, thank you.
Yeah, there's also another colorizer in the GLSL, but I don't think you have that installed unless you installed it. No, that's a manual install thing.
Yeah, I have to run, but this was very helpful.
Yay.
And you'll send us the video?
Yes, I'm going to stop the recording now, and it will be all the videos I've been putting up on the page. So then you can just look through them. Like, just go ahead and just like look through them and back and forth and that.
Thank you so much, Callie.
Thank
This was really great. This is a lot of fun.